Jake with GroundSounds, and I am here with Tim and Drea, otherwise known as Pyramids. Guys, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So, how did you meet and decide to form Pyramids?
Well, Tim and I were introduced by a mutual acquaintance, and we started up emailing each other for about 8 months before we ever met in person. But it was just like we were email pen pals for a while, and then we started exchanging music, and then we met in person. We liked each other, and like, oh, let's work together. That's kind of how it went down.
And I gotta ask, why the two Ys?
We have two Y's in our names because it just makes it easier to search for us online.
Oh, fair enough. That works.
It's actually practical.
Yeah. So your debut full-length, Brightest Darkest Day, is out now. It's a really compelling album. Really draws you in. What was your writing process like together?
Our writing process generally starts with some kind of like musical information for the most part, you know. So I'll drum up some kind of skeleton track that's just like a beat and some chordal information, maybe a little bit of production information, you know, and try to set a mood. But then I send it to Drea to see A, if she likes it, and then if she does like it, then B, you know, what she comes up with for vocals and stuff like that. And we just go back and forth, kind of like chiseling away until we've got something we both like.
And where do you draw a lot of your lyrics from?
A lot of it is my own personal experience, but I mean, I watch people. I'm a people watcher. So sometimes it's someone else's experience that I just kind of took their perspective and wrote from that perspective. So it's just a combination of those two things.
Okay. So tell us about the song Everyone Says, because that's one song that I keep playing over and over again. I love it. So what's the story behind that song?
Well, when Tim sent me the demo of it, everyone says that hook was already in it. And I was like, oh. And sometimes he sends me things with ideas in it, and I either pull from them, or sometimes I don't, or sometimes I take bits and pieces and build off. But that's the exact hook, with the exception of a minor tweak. But I was like, oh, I can build around this. This is a good theme. And it's just like an experience I had when I was like 19 with a guy who was just kind of like, I want to mold you. Like, I want to, like, you know, that's the only way I'll date you. And I'm like, dude, man, like, that kind of sucks. So I just wrote a song about that experience I had like 8 years ago.
So when did you, same question to both of you, when did you first realize that you wanted to be a musician? Like, was there a specific moment when that happened for you?
I think, God, when did I first want to be a musician? Well, my sister is a really good musician, and she's 12 years older than I am. So by the time I was like 6 or 7, she had acoustic guitars laying around the house. And in fact, she had one that had a broken bridge, so you couldn't really tune it. But she was really into the band The Violent Femmes. And I remember thinking, like, well, this band sounds awesome, and it sounds like they're just like pounding their acoustic guitar. It doesn't even sound like they're playing. It just sounds like they're just pounding, you know. And so I took her guitar and started writing songs on it, just like pounding on it, not really caring what notes were coming out, and just like singing at the top of my lungs. And I remember thinking, like, this feels pretty good. Like, I want to explore all this and maybe even try to one day learn how to play a guitar, you know. But so I think my sister kind of influenced me, both just by watching her play, but also like the music she listened to. She was into really good stuff, like Violent Femmes and the Smiths, and you know, stuff like that.
Cool.
I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a rock journalist when I was like 11. And then my best friend in 8th grade, we took gospel choir as a class because it was just kind of like you get an easy A. And she was like, you know how to sing. I was like, no, I don't. And she pushed me off the risers when the teacher was like, who wants to audition for this solo? So I kind of got stuck auditioning for this solo. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. I think I'll sing in public now instead of just like singing the songs. I was writing songs when I was like 11 just to remember things sometimes. Like I would have to do like Easter speeches or Christmas speeches at church. My grandparents made me, and the only way I can remember them is if I made them into songs. So that was the way that started. But yeah, 13 was when I decided I wanted to like sing in front of people and take the writing side and mix it with music.
That's very cool. I mean, 11 years old, 13 years old. I was like still rolling around in the sand when I was that age. That's pretty impressive. So what's coming up next for Pyramids? Rest of the year, what are you guys up to?
We've got a bunch of shows kind of on and off for the next few months. We'll be a little bit in the UK, playing in New York and Chicago a bit, and then a little bit on the West Coast, Phoenix, and of course we're playing tonight here in Los Angeles. And then we're working on some new music that we'd like to release in October, and I think we will be also shooting a video for the song Invisible Screen.
Wow. Okay. What can you tell us about the new music? How's that coming along?
Surprisingly easy. I mean, it's really easy working with this dude. So it's just kind of we can just be hanging out because we're buds. We can be hanging out and they just come to us.
Yeah, it's still I'd say it's still kind of on the dark side of things.
Yeah,
but
it's staying. We like what we're doing. We did on Brightest Darkest Day, so it's kind of like an evolution of that. Is where it's headed. But
Darkest day.
it might be the darkest of the darkest.
a darkest day.
Darker. I can't even say it. Yes, that.
Very cool. Well, make sure you check out Brightest Darkest Day and new stuff coming up. Where can fans check you out?
People can go to pyramids.com, which is PYYRAMIDS. We're on Twitter, Facebook,
Tumblr. SoundCloud. Find us everywhere.
They're everywhere. Pyramid, 2Ys, Drea and Tim. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you.
We're Pyramids, and you're watching GroundSounds.